Guys, Greg is flabbergasted right now. He's down for the count. Why? Why is he? You right? Why is he down for the count? Well, guys, we did it. We finally did it. Appleman Sam demo is now live. If you're new to the channel, Appleman Sam, survivors like bullet heaven, roguelite, lots of genres for this game. Top-down arena shooter, you shoot hordes of mustached vegetables, get a high score, get items, level up, get stronger, go through the waves and stages, and complete the run by beating a final boss. This is my first ever game, first ever project for this venture that I'm working on. I've got a few videos of the early development of this game. If you want to see, if I go back to the prototype, this is actually my first time using Godot at all. This was the very first prototype, the first Appleman Sam. Let me turn the music down. This was, learning how to use GD script, learning how to work with the engine, make things shoot, make enemies move around, make my character move around, doing tile sets, all that stuff. And now look what we're up to, guys. Look what we have here. It's still obviously, 2D pixel art style, looks, fundamentally the same, but obviously a lot more visual fidelity here and a lot more gameplay, a lot more systems involved. So get the demo today, free obviously on Steam. This is the main store page. You can get it here. You basically have the first stage of the game. So early access is going to release with one map, has 3 stages, each with 4 waves of enemies, and then you have final boss fight and an endless mode, or otherwise called Rising Tide mode, which I can talk about in a future video. So you effectively have unlimited gameplay. The early access will release probably after Steam Next Fest and the Bullet Fest. Both of those are in June. This game is signed up for that, so stay tuned. I'll be making more devlogs, sort of covering the content of the early access as that's coming out, sort of what's already in place and what's coming. It's going to be $3.99 USD, so pretty good value, 10% discount on launch. So that is the big announcement. Now, more for the sort of devloggy stuff, I want to talk a bit about sort of the journey that we've been on, and a bit of the lessons learned and sort of things that have been undertaken to sort of go from absolutely nothing to a demo on Steam and soon to be early access. So this has been over a period of about 6 months. Over that 6 months has been obviously hundreds of hours of development, hundreds of hours of playtesting. Development initially is mostly done with Windsurf and then a bit of Cursor as well. So those are agentic IDEs. I've got some videos about that. So almost the entirety of the actual code writing has been done by generative AI, but a lot of the architecture has been, well, I should say the initial architecture was done by AI, and it's actually been redone by me because it was poorly optimized for the sort of game that we were going for. So I'll talk a bit about that in a future video as well. So over that time, I've learned lots of things about how to actually get generative AI to sort of make the game correctly, sort of effective workflows for playtesting and observing issues. So obviously your generative large language models, they can't really interact with your game and see the game the same way you can as a human being. So to explain bugs and actually to experience bugs is something a LLM can't do at all. So all the QA and all of the testing sort of sits on you as the human. So that's probably the most key part. So of the hundreds of hours of development, I'd say there's an equal part of playtesting. It's been a lot of playtesting, and I've had several playtesters helping me along that journey. So it's been really useful at sort of getting the game to be A, more fun, B, close to bug free, or at least a lot less bugs than there were, and C, much more performant. We had about 12 FPS sort of lows, for like an FPS floor of 12 FPS at one point, and now we've never seen less than 60 FPS. Usually it's never less than 120 FPS. On my machine, it's always over 300, which is fantastic. But that wasn't the first product that was produced at the start. A lot of these months have been changing the architecture in the back end, sort of how enemies are spawned and drawn to the screen, how their collision detection works, all that stuff. I'll definitely make some more videos about that. But those are the big lessons in terms of development. In terms of making a game more fun, the biggest lesson I've learned is to listen to feedback on what sort of feels crap versus what feels frustrating and deliberately challenging, and sort of how to see which levers and which variables to change to make that experience better without changing your original. So an example of that would be how the endless mode initially was sort of an endless version of the base game. You just have wave after wave after wave of enemies that get slightly harder, a bit less engaging, and after about a run that takes about 25 to 30 minutes in the first place, to then play endlessly was not that engaging. The feedback would be something like this is boring, it's a left click simulator. But what levers do you tweak there? Do you just make the enemies more difficult? Do you have more types of enemies? Which levers do you pick? And for me, the vision was always an endless mode that was engaging, and makes you want to get the highest score. So that ended up being changed to a rising tide setup. A rising tide is a timer that's counting down, and every action you do sort of adds to that timer, so you can keep going endlessly, and it sort of makes it more engaging. You can't just sit there, hold left click. You have to actually go around and complete the challenges and objectives. So that's an example of something I never would have considered before starting this journey on how games are made and how to actually change it to make it more fun. I learned a few things about actually putting the game on Steam itself, like the physical action of getting it on here. Making this capsule art is relatively straightforward, but there's a few things to consider. So if I go up here and type Appleman Sam, you'll see the top logo is actually still slightly obscured by this little icon here. So there's things like that. The demoed banner was obscuring the icon, and that sort of prevented it being released when I wanted. That's one example. There's all of these little considerations you don't think about in terms of the art. My tip for that, if you're making your own game, is just take your time with it. This is all a second iteration of the art as well. I landed on one initially, and I sort of didn't like the end result after a little while looking back at it. So you come back with fresh eyes and sort of use the tools that you have. I use Photopea, which is like a free Photoshop, which is what I recommend. I also use Canva, so those two are good. Actually pushing builds to Steam is, I don't know if this is like normal. The way I've done it is there's an extension on Godot called GD Steam that sort of compiles your game obviously into an executable, but it's also got this little these are the set of commands that I run, these are the set of commands I run to actually push a build. It combines everything into this VDF file. I'm not going to sort of lie and say that I really know what that means, but effectively running this command sort of pushes the build to Steam, and then you can actually choose which branch it lands on. You can put patch notes and all that sort of stuff. Actually doing that was quite interesting. I might make a video about that in the future if there's any interest on actually running an export in Godot, how you do that, and then how you actually push that to the Steam with patch notes and everything. So that was a cool learning experience. Those were the other cool lessons. Now, sort of I'm in the marketing stage, so the demo's out. There's no need to sort of do much more dev work now before the early access release. We sort of want to garner interest, get wish lists, so that Steam Next Fest and Bullet Fest are sort of helpful. I'm not sure if they will be, but there's no downside in signing up for them at this stage. The game's not going to be drastically different in terms of substance if I waited another 3 years to put it in Next Fest at that point, in my opinion anyway. So now's the time to sort of get in there and sort of see what happens. Posting on Reddit and posting on obviously the YouTube and the YouTube channel you're on now, and then TikTok and Instagram, just shorts of the game content, trying to hook people in, and then I'll sort of make some more devloggy shorts as well. And sort of learning how marketing works is another challenge. It's another layer. It's the business layer. I'm familiar with the various sort of channels that I can tackle. It's all about balancing sort of how the information is delivered, who it's delivered to, and sort of the cost of that. So I'm trying to do no cost methods at the moment, and then we can sort of explore advertisements. But we're sort of aiming to have this as a no cost or low cost marketed product. The price point is $4. We're not charging for a AAA game here, so AAA level marketing obviously is off the table, which sort of goes without saying, but it sort of limits your channels. I can basically reach out to creators and post and hope for organic growth. I've learnt that Reddit doesn't like generative AI at all. It's totally fine. Even the using it to help write posts is very much frowned upon, which, again, totally fine. It's something I've learned. I'm used to the sort of corporate world at the moment where this stuff is being hard adopted, and it's not crazy to sort of see generative AI used to help write things. But I've learnt sort of what is expected in terms of communication there. There's a lot of anti-AI sentiment in that space, which comes, I think, from a valid place. You have AAA studios that are sort of making people redundant when they have AAA funds for talent that can actually produce better results than AI, but they're opting for less than ideal results for a cheaper price point, which I don't agree with necessarily. If I had AAA funds, I'd love a AAA team of artists, both visual and audio, and sort of to be able to make something that's of that next level quality. But honestly, in terms of funds and resources available and time I have to actually do all of this, I'm sort of working with the best set of tools I have. That AI is the most cost-effective approach to an invalidated product. Right now I'm sitting at about 30 wish lists to then spend thousands of dollars on artwork, even hundreds of dollars. It doesn't make a lot of logical sense at this stage, but I'll say it here first. If there was enough support on this early access, if people find the game fun, I'd love to hire a human artist to redo the artwork and make it sort of that next level with next level animation and care and detail. Right now, I mean, I am happy with the art, to be honest. Like this is still, you got AI generated reference stencil sprites, and then I've still gone and hand painted everything over. There'd be a few items that I haven't done that because there's over 75 in this early access, but by full release, everything's going to be hand painted over. And everything's still hand animated, and I did all the tile sets and all the buildings, and I've had like my girlfriend and friends draw random sprites in the game. So like it's not all just AI generates I wasn't on the screen. It's not just AI generates the whole thing in one shot, and it's AI slop. It's easy, bro. It's definitely enabled by AI. I'm not going to say it's not a big crutch, but it sort of sits somewhere in the middle there. But I'd love to push it to that other end and sort of have humans make the artwork even better. But we need that backing, we need that support. So best way to sort of make that happen and sort of enable me to be able to fund those people to sort of join the team would be get the demo, get those wish lists up, and get the early access if you find the game fun. If people don't even find the game fun, which I certainly do, and have played it for hundreds of hours now, probably one of my most played games is my own game. So hopefully other people find it fun, and then we've got that support, and we can invest to boost that fidelity there. So that's sort of the biggest lesson I've learned from marketing right now is sort of how to market around the generative AI approach. I'm just being honest and transparent. I'm not going to hide it. I'm very grateful that the tools exist. It's allowed me to sort of try and chase this dream here and release a game. So I'm definitely not going to hide from it, but I know not to use it to help me write my posts. I'll just write from the heart and sort of spend the time there to communicate to Reddit in that way and keep using it sort of as responsibly as I can. Future videos, obviously we've got more devlogs coming again with more details about the underlying the game. Obviously I'm here to take you on the journey with me, so I'll talk more about the marketing, sort of how it's going and what stats we've got, talk about the development tools and the processes like I've been doing, and ideally we'll get sort of a community going and you can help bring this game with me from early access to full release. You'll sort of see everything I'm making. That's the future. Again, thank you so much this is a bit of a rambly video. It's a devlog talking from the heart here, so please get the demo if you can, give it a go, 10 minutes or so for a run. You get unlimited runs, but I hope you find it fun, and stay tuned for more announcements. Thank you so much.